Welcome to Stuart Woodward Energy Assessor. Here we will be going through the refurbishment building survey form which you need to complete to produce the on-construction EPCs for your refurbishment project. So initially we're just going to go through exactly the minimum evidence requirements that we require, and then we will explain the refurbishment form in more detail. So we will need the completed survey form. We would also need a signed declaration form, and we will need the E-value certificate. And as we've discussed before, we would also need the drawings. So now let's jump over to the form. Okay, so on this form, if this is a new refurbishment, so let's say you have a house which you've turned into multiple flats, then what we'll need you to do is put the proposed address on here, say like flat 1, flat 2 of whatever building, and then we'll need you to sign and date it. It's very important to know that that this, whatever you put in here, is what will end up on the end EPC. So then the first question that you will have is the age of the existing building. Now this is obviously important for us to gain what the U values are for the building. So if you have a project which has not upgraded the wall insulation, or then this is very good for us to know the actual values. So here, if you have, let's say, an 1800s building, then you would put just that date in there, or an approximate age, because then that will allow us to work back to know what the typical constructions were of that day, to then assign an assumptive U value for that construction. We'd also need to know if the age of any extensions that were built after. So you might have something that was built, say, 20 years ago, which would be a completely different construction from the original building. So as we go down the list, we'll ask you to note what type of the existing construction was. Say if it's stone or cob, that's obviously very important. And we will then like to know approximate U value, approximate thicknesses for the construction, as this will allow us to obtain a more detailed U value for the wall. And again, also for the existing extensions, this all allows us to find, assess and to note down the correct figures for the heat loss. And again, so if you've got an existing building that's not had any upgrades to it, then we need to know what the type of the glazing is. Yes, so that's that. And then again, if you've got an extension that was, say, done 20 years ago or 10 years ago, then it may be UPVC glazing, whereas the existing building may have a maybe timber frame single glazed. Then if you can let us know if you've got fixed external lighting and if they're low energy. So on this section, we have the details of the main space heating and controls. So this is where you would add your main space heating for if it is a gas central heating system, and if it has radiators or underfloor heating, you'll note that down here, the details and what type it is, also when it was installed. And then you have the heating system make and model number here. Sometimes some people do struggle to get the what the actual make and model of the boiler is. Well, I'll just have an example here. It's normally noted on the front of your boiler somewhere. So on this one, it is a Green Start 24 kilowatt I system, and it's a LPG. Yours may be gas, maybe electric, so all of those details need to be noted down here, but they are normally found on the front of the boiler. If your dwelling has a hot water system, then if you can add all the details here. If it's located in a heated space, if you have quite a big area, then sometimes it's like located in a plant room. So if you can let us know where it's in a heated space or not, that all goes into the calculation. We'd also need to know the measured heat loss of the hot water cylinder. This is also can be noted as standing heat loss. So if you are struggling to find that detail, again, normally on the hot water cylinder itself, you will have this big sticker here which will tell you everything we need. So in this instance, we have the capacity here is 246 litres. Then you need to add that into the water storage. And then as you can see on here, this actually says standing heat loss. We will need to know this value here, the 1.637 kilowatt hours per 24 hours. Then moving down the list here, the secondary heating system. Now this would typically be in the living room with a sitting room, that could have a gas fire, or it could have an open coal fire, or it could be a log burner. So if you can highlight the details here for the manufacturer, the type, make and model, as well as its fuel, whether it's logs, dual fuel or gas, and would also need to know the efficiency. Moving down the list. In this question here, we'll need to know if any of the existing house has been upgraded. And you've got a nice list, a nice area to type down there. So here is where we confirm the existing as well as the proposed U values. So you can note all of these down, all these constructions down that you've upgraded, and then we will be able to calculate the U values exactly. Okay, so second on the list is the declaration. Now what you need to note down here is the name and the project name and the project address, as well as your contact details. All this notes down on here is just letting us know, you're just signing to say that everything you've issued to us is correct. Lastly on the list is the U value certificate for the new windows. Now this can come in several different guises. This one is quite a detailed sheet, but generally all we are looking for is for an overall U value. And as you can see here, the overall window U value is down here, the thermal transmittance, and it's all of these values here is most of this you don't need to know. All we are asking for is this value here to be confirmed. This is one type of certificate. There's also a much simpler one that can be issued to you, which is something more like this, which has the A rating on there, and then just has the confirmed U value here, as well as some other values which we look at. The one thing we cannot accept that we do get issued quite a lot is just this, being told that the windows are energy rating. There is no data on this that is suitable for us to gain a U value from. So the manufacturer, or wherever the supplier, wherever you've got the windows, is to ask for a window U value certificate, and it must confirm the whole U value for the window and not just the centre pane U value of the glazing itself. It needs to be a whole frame and window U value. Okay. So if you have any questions with the form, then please do get in contact.